Live from E, Will, Nina, Melanie coming at you. So let's jump right in today. We're going to start with Jenny McCarthy and her talking all about her days on The View with Barbara and Whoopi.
Yeah.
So Vulture is sharing excerpts from the upcoming book, Ladies Who Punch, the explosive inside story of The View. In it, Jenny calls Whoopi controlling, says Barbara yelled at her the first time they met when she was a guest on the show in 2007, kind of like a scene from Mommy Dearest or something.
Yeah.
So Jenny makes some pretty wild accusations in the book out April 2nd. You guys read the article. What did you think of it?
I thought the article was very juicy. It did make me want to read the book at least. I don't know if I really care about Jenny McCarthy's life story as a whole, but that part about her working in The View and the inner workings of The View spoke to me as just someone who works on television.
Guys.
So I wanted more of that for sure.
Yeah.
It's really juicy. Obviously, it's all from her perspective, so we don't know 100% if that's how everything went down.
Sure, yeah.
But
well, there's the guy that wrote it sat with almost all of the other hosts,
right,
except for, I think, Elizabeth and Whoopi wouldn't sit for an interview.
Yeah, he sat with and he sat with Bill Getty, he sat with Sherry, so we hear from their accounts.
Yeah.
But I felt like when the article didn't really read the accounts from necessarily her. They didn't comment on what happened to her. They just commented about the ratings, the changing of the topics from politics to pop culture, and how it affected the show, and the dynamic with Barbara on the show. But I didn't feel like they necessarily spoke to Jenny's experiences.
So I think I might be the only person that feels it, and you and I haven't spoken about this morning, but I spoke to Carissa and Morgan before I came on. I found it really, really bitchy.
Oh, you did?
I did, and I think I'm the only person that, and guys, I'll explain why, some of the details in a minute, because actually Morgan and Carissa totally disagree with me, and they're like, if that's her truth, that's her truth, and she's giving her opinion of what happened, but it just feels, so she talked about, just to really, really summarise, but she talks about how Barbara made her change her outfits all the time, how Barbara would forget the names of people, how Whoopi wanted to control people's thoughts, just all this bitchy stuff. And it felt, and look, I'm somebody who works in entertainment news and celebrity gossip, like bitchiness is kind of what makes the world go round in our world. But it felt really disrespectful. It felt like she was just really bad.
No, I didn't get that at all.
You didn't get...
No,
nor did Morgan and Carissa. I know I'm the only one. I need to reread it. I don't know if I've woken up in a sensitive mood this morning.
I think you have a right to say, though, like, this is the thing. Sometimes people are bitchy to you at work. And from what I read in the article, she talks about the power struggle that was going on between Whoopi and Jenny and how it affected everybody around them. And working in a tense environment where we have this 83-year-old icon retiring, and it sounded like she was alluding to the fact that Barbara was starting to become a little senile.
Yeah, which upset me. You see, that upset me. I said that to Will this morning.
It upset you.
It upset me.
You don't think she should, like, we knew, if you watched the show, you knew that was kind of happening.
We're at work, so I don't watch The View regularly, but nobody would expect, let's be honest, any 83-year-old to know who Katy Perry is, right? So, like, that specific reference when it's like, well, you interviewed her last week, it's kind of like, yeah, I know, but do you have, like, a mental running catalog of every single person you've interviewed, and, like, somebody brings them up in conversation, you're going to go, oh, yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. Like, I would cut Barbara a little slack for something like that. Her outright saying on the show, who is Jenny McCarthy, is funny. I don't know if that's necessary.
And then it's like, is it out of context? But I did feel like we've all had times where somebody that we were working with has made a comment that might have hurt our feelings.
100%.
Or there might have been, you know how like you have a moment of struggle with someone that you work with and you finally work through it, but there are tense months.
Yeah.
And I think that was her perspective, and it sounds like she was still really hurt by it.
It does
and it
sound
sounds
like
there
that.
was never any resolve with Whoopi. It sounds like there was never really any resolve with her being on The View. She said it was the most miserable experience of her career. And I have that. I have a really miserable experience, a place that I worked at to this day. I mean, if I talked about it, it would sound like Jenny's story. It would be like, this is what I remember. This was a horrible experience. I'm not going to pretend that it was amazing.
Yeah.
I know, it's so different. I don't know. I have a thing about it. It's like, what I will say, though, to you over a glass of wine at drinks, a quesadillas, is so different from what I would say if ever, first of all, no one gives it. shit about what I think about things in print, but like it's very different from what I would say to be respectful to people like work.
So again, here's the idea. This is like
that's a really good point.
The point of this book is to like is to catalog everybody's honest experiences on working on this show, right? Like, what reason would they have to lie about it or to like placate Barbara Walters at this point?
I know.
The point, like, and the guy that wrote it's a journalist. He wouldn't just accept platitudes about Barbara.
Right. And we know that there's been this is what shows try to do. They try to minimize the drama, right? But we know just from all of the different casting changes that The View has been through a lot of drama. I mean, even from Rosie leaving to coming back to leaving again to Barbara kind of being taken off the helm, from Meredith Vieira leaving. Like, we know that The View has been tumultuous. That's not a secret. Now we're getting more tea as the inner workings. The fact that in this article, if you guys have not read it, she said that there was a point where Barbara Walters knocked on her dressing room door and told her to go
with
a tampon in a bathroom that was a public bathroom, and Jenny was like, "You want me to do what?"
Yeah.
It's very telling as to the dynamic of the background relationship. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would have lost my job that day. That very day is when my career would have changed.
I think just bearing in mind, I know I'm a lone person on an island with my opinion on this. And I do want to read it again in case, but the thing where she says, Barbara Walters made me change my outfit if it didn't compliment hers, which, guys, by the way, like, it is kind of normal on television in the same, if I was going on set and Juliana was wearing a blue dress and I was wearing the exact same colour blue dress.
That happens often.
Like, there's a hierarchy. Yeah. Like, she's the host. I would go and change.
And that happens sometimes with just your co-host.
Yeah,
it's
totally normal. So the way she says that, and then she says, but then Barbara wanted to dress like me. It's like, now you're accusing her of trying to copy you.
Melanie is upset because she feels like she has to defend Barbara. I think you're a little sensitive because of Barbara.
Here's the other thing to remember too is that we're reacting to pieces of a chapter of an entire book that were released. We might come out, like, there might be other parts of this book that when the book comes out, I believe it's April, I want to say April 2nd or 3rd. When the book comes out, there might be other people who are like, oh yeah, that was a nightmare for us.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say,
you might have Debbie Matenopoulos saying the exact same thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think she said that it was, but she was also 22 at the time, so she was inexperienced, and she says it was like a hazing thing for her, but she was also 22, getting a national show, so she's talked about her experiences. But I will say that Whoopi is combative on the show. Like, you can tell that, to me, Whoopi comes across very grumpy on the show often. Like, it's very grumpy. She cuts people off. She is the moderator, so it's her job. But I do think that it might be hard to work with her. Like, it might be hard to like try to debate. Yeah. So Jenny's saying, that she could never really get a word in.
I mean, to be frank, like, it's hard to deal with strong personalities in general, and a television show like that is made up solely of strong personalities. So there's going to
about that.
There's going to be clashes, right?
Honestly, you should. What I have to go through here at work.
Mostly with me.
No, somebody says Whoopi is doing her job. She's not grumpy. If you watch The View, there are times where Whoopi is grumpy. There are times where Whoopi is like, I don't want to talk about that. There's a lot of Whoopi infused in the moderating. If you've watched and you really are a fan of Whoopi, which I am, but I can call a spade a spade.
Sure. And it's it's a cliche to say it, but like, show business is not show friends, right? Like, you're there for work, you're there to do a job, you're not there to everybody get along, happy fun time.
Yeah.
And also, Jenny has a podcast that she's kind of trying to make herself a very outspoken host and talk about like taboo things. So I think that this also kind of helps that narrative that she is now kind of, not that she's a shock jock, but that she's trying to be like that person, that tell-all type of person. This doesn't hurt her cause that she's kind of spilling all this tea now.
Well, that's the thing. So I did think about that. I do want to read Jodie's comments. She says 5 people could see the same thing and have different opinions about it. Everyone has their own opinion. It was very, very, very true. No, I did think when I read this article, I thought, her viewpoint, Jenny, is like, I should have taken a job at CBS, not at ABC with The View. I wish I'd taken that job at CBS. I was like, you're going to have trouble getting a job at CBS. I don't know. It's very, I do think there is a kind of line in our industry that there is an interest in what goes on behind the scenes, and if you do kind of spill some secrets about behind the scenes, it can cause issues as far as how executives view you and whether they think you're a loose cannon in the future. So yeah, that was something that occurred to me.
Yes, but that's not, to be frank, that's not really Jenny's problem anymore.
No, well, as long as she doesn't want a network show.
Yeah.
I don't think this will stop her from getting a network show. I don't think this is the.
I don't know.
To be frank, I don't think that Jenny's in the conversation.
I don't think she's in the conversation, but I don't think that it would be like, well, now that she talked about this View experience, let's not give her a job. I mean, she's still.
I don't know.
She's still on TV. I mean, she's a judge.
Yeah.
On a very popular show that's breaking records. So why wouldn't someone bring her in a conversation?
That's true. Yeah, I can see why you would say that.
It's just not a show you would want to watch.
No. I feel like it's a show that a lot of people wouldn't watch, and it's just because that is it's so businessy, but that's a tough market, right?
Yeah.
Like the singular talk show based on a solitary person now. Like there are a lot of them that have tried, and a lot of them that have failed because that's a very special. It's a super hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's rarefied, and I like, as much as I like Jenny in a lot of different capacities, she's a flavor in a dish. She's not the whole dish. Does that make sense?
Oh, Will, look at you.
I like a good cooking.
I think you're an amazing critic, Will.
Oh, thank you. Let's talk about.
You should host your own show.
I think it's almost like
you want to run the show. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Cardi B heading to the big screen. So she's been cast in a film called Hustlers. Now this movie is all about a group of former strip club employees who band together.